Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. This is Shyam here, taking up the Hindu news analysis for 3rd April 2026. Am I audible right now? Please do let me know so that we can start the session. Thanks a lot. So, in today's session, I've taken a total of 11 articles. 9 of them are from the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper, remaining 2 from the Indian Express. This has been done in order to ensure that the discussion will be comprehensive, helping you answer the questions in the prelims as well as the mains examination. If you are liking this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Before I start with the first important article, here is a very important announcement. If you are preparing for the Civil Services Exams 2027, right now the Unacademy IAS courses are available at a discounted price of 22,999. Once you enroll, you will get access to the live as well as the recorded lectures, be it in English medium, Hindi, or bilingual. You will get access to the reading material, prelims, as well as the mains test series. Do not miss out the opportunity. Those interested in enrolling, check the details by clicking on the link provided in the description. And use the code IAS English to avail an extension of up to 6 months free of cost. Let me begin the discussion. First important article from the central page, Election Commission of India transfer controversy. The elections have been announced in 4 states. In the current year, the elections will be conducted in 4 states. These are Kerala, Assam, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal. Along with these 4 states, elections will also be held in the Union Territory of Puducherry. Now, whenever elections are announced by the Election Commission of India, a constitutional authority, it is very important to ensure that the elections are conducted free and fair. Now, when the elections are announced, Election Commission of India uses 3 important measures to ensure the elections are free and fair. These are: 1. The moment elections are announced, Model Code of Conduct comes into force. This is the first one. Second one, the Election Commission of India will start using the central forces in order to implement certain policies in the regions where the elections are announced. In addition to this, the Election Commission of India will also be provided with the machinery, that is the officials from the state government. This is done according to Article 324, subsection 6. These particular election officials or the officials who are appointed are basically given by the state government to the Election Commission of India. Please understand, if the Election Commission of India feels that these are not impartial, these officials are biased, these are not going to help in conducting the elections free and fair, in such cases, the Election Commission will transfer the officials. They will conduct the transfer of the officials. And this is not the first time that this kind of a policy has been implemented. When the Lok Sabha elections were conducted back in 2024, the Election Commission of India transferred many of the government officials. This is done because in the past it has been seen that many of the officials favor one or the other political party. And when these officials are part of the machinery to conduct elections, they will be involved in certain activities which will favor either the party which has formed the government, or else it will favor one or the other political party which has the aspirations of forming the government. Now, once the elections were announced for these particular states, the Election Commission basically transferred high functioning officials, high level officials in the state of West Bengal. These were basically the Directorate General of Police. Of course, apart from these high level officials, many other officials were also transferred. But what led to the friction between the state government as well as the constitutional authority here was the transfer of the DGP as well as the secretary. The chief secretary as well as the DGP were also transferred. And this actually led to friction between the government in West Bengal as well as the Election Commission of India. Now, what does the law say? What does the Constitution of India simply state? The Supreme Court of India has issued an order. In the order 1978, issued in 1978, basically the Supreme Court of India states that Article 324, which deals with the Election Commission of India, it is a plenary provision which is in fact a reservoir of powers that can be used by the Election Commission of India whenever there is a need to conduct free and fair elections. In simple terms, the Election Commission of India can quote Article 324 and implement multiple policies, undertake multiple decisions, and simply say these are needed to conduct free and fair elections. And many of the times, whenever these transfer, suspensions, orders are issued by the ECI, this is the main article that is quoted by Election Commission of India. But there is one more very important point that we should note from this particular order or the judgment. There is one very important caveat. The Supreme Court simply said, yes, Article 324 can be used by the Election Commission of India, provided there is no law, which has been formed by the center or the state government, which is already dealing with certain provision where the Election Commission of India is taking the decision. Is everybody able to understand? I'll repeat it again. The Article 324 gives wide powers to the ECI. Yes, that is absolutely true. But if the central government already has a law, if the state government already has a law, and under these laws, the provisions are already there, now the Election Commission of India cannot undertake any measures where the laws are already made. That is a very important caveat to make a note. Now, what is the issue here? Issue is very simple. When the Election Commission of India will transfer all India services officers, there is All India Services Act, first one. And the provisions under these act or this act as well as the guidelines will basically oversee the functioning associated with all India services officers such as IAS officers as well as IPS officers. Point number one. Point number two, these particular IAS and IPS officers, when they are working with the state government or under the state government, they are on a deputation with the state government. In such cases, it is the state government which will have all the powers in terms of allocation of work, in terms of suspension, transfer, etc. It is essentially with the state government now whether they want to shift the secretary or they want to transfer the secretary, replace the secretary, or they want to transfer the Directorate General of Police. The powers are simply with the state government. Now, when the Election Commission of India will suddenly take a decision to transfer these kind of officers who are on the deputation with the state government, this will create friction between the center, this will create the friction between the state government as well as the Election Commission of India. This is basically the theme that has been discussed in this article. In addition to this, when ECI will simply transfer, let's say, certain officials, and the argument is these are not impartial, these are biased officers. There is a practice, there is a convention, not a rule, there is a practice. What is a practice? They are supposed to basically discuss this, convey this particular message to the state governments and take consultation. But again, please understand, it is not mandatory. They are supposed to consult, take consultations from the state government. But this is not mandatory. Here, the issue is the same. The West Bengal state government is arguing on what basis these actions have been taken by the Election Commission of India. What are the allegations against these high-level All India officers or All India service officials? No communication has been given by the Election Commission of India. Having said so, one point that we need to remember in the context that is in the favor of the Election Commission of India is under the Representations of the People's Act, Under the RPA Act, there is Section 13CC, Section 13CC, RPA 1950, Section 13CC. What does this section mention? It simply mentions that whenever officials are working during the elections, they are working under the deputation of Election Commission of India. They are simply working under the deputation under the Election Commission of India. So when Election Commission of India has to take decisions, they don't have to report to anybody. They don't have to take permission from anyone. In order to conduct free and fair elections, the Election Commission of India take these kind of decisions. But the gray area in this particular case is that what will be the viewpoint of the court when high level, high ranking officials are transferred by the Election Commission. Right now, the focus has been, or until now, the transfers, suspensions, etc. were associated with low level officials. Now, the highest level officials have been transferred by the ECI. And the problem with this is, suddenly when the high ranking officials, right, let's say one who deals with the law and order for the full state, one who takes care of the administration of the whole state, if these kind of officials are suddenly removed from their positions or transferred from their positions, this will create a vacuum. This will create a disturbance in terms of maintaining law and order, implementing administrative policies, etc. So these are some of the very important issues that have been discussed in the first article here. Everybody is okay with the discussion? Please do let me know. And based on this, let's solve an MCQ. Please tell me the correct answer as soon as possible before I start solving it. First one, the officers belonging to All India Services are governed by the All India Services Act and the rules made thereunder. Article 324(6) requires the state government or the union government to make available to the ECI on the demand the staff that is required for it to conduct elections. Election Commission of India is responsible for conducting the local body elections in the union territories. The first statement is correct, by the way. First statement is correct. Second statement is correct. Third statement is incorrect. Third statement, that is in case of union territories, the local body elections are not conducted by Election Commission of India. That is the responsibility of the State Election Commission. So only two statements are right. Right option for the question will be option B. Now, associated with this discussion, there is also a question for you to practice mains answer writing. Discuss the administrative and legal measures adopted by the Election Commission to ensure neutrality during elections. What challenges also persist? Write an answer to this particular question in 250 words. It's a 15-marker question. Those who have given the answer, all of you have given the correct option, correct answer by the way, except one person, Diana Nixon. My dear, you have written only 2. Only 2 means, right, you have given the number 2, right? So it simply would mean that you are referring to statement 2. But I'm presuming that you are saying only 2 of the 3 statements are correct. Let's go forward now. Peace in West Asia. A path to peace in West Asia beyond Pakistan talks. What is happening in the current affairs? It's been more than 30 days since the conflict in West Asia has begun. This has put the whole global market, whole global economy in turmoil. Those who are involved in the conflict, they are also suffering. And those who are not involved in the conflict, those who are not responsible for the conflict, for example, India, we are also facing the consequences of the conflict. One area that has been discussion, or one area that has been under the current affairs, a lot of discussion, is the Strait of Hormuz. And I'm pretty sure you have heard of this particular term, the areas associated with that, the countries associated with that, at least 100 times in the last 1 month. But the important point is, in recent times, Pakistan has proposed to negotiate or mediate between the parties which are involved in the war, so that there is peace that is established or that is brought back to this particular region. It has already conducted talks with representatives of Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, as well as even China. It has conducted talks with representatives of multiple countries. Now, what are the very important points that you need to consider here? First and foremost, mediation will come later, or let's say the permanent peace will come later. First and foremost, we need to establish peace or ceasefire. We need to establish ceasefire to establish peace. But to get to the point of ceasefire, the parties which are involved in the war, they should stop fighting. What are the two main parties which are involved in the war? On one side, we have Israel and USA. And on the other side, we have Iran, along with their proxies, which have jumped into the war now. These are the two main parties. Now, when you look at these two parties, what were the objectives? What were the stated objectives when the war was started by, or when the attacks were begun by Israel and USA? USA basically stated that they want to dismantle the nuclear infrastructure present in Iran. They want to go for a regime change amongst others. Israel also parroted the same line. They stated that they also want a regime change. They want destruction of the nuclear facility, etc. And they want the people in Iran to choose the government. They want the people to overthrow the current regime, and they want a change in the regime. And these were initially the objectives or the goalposts that were announced. But later, what has happened? The president of USA, whenever the talks are held, or whenever the bites are given, or the statements are given by the president, the goalpost has kept on changing. Sometime he simply says, the president of USA simply says, we have already changed the regime. We have dismantled everything, right? Very soon there will be a deal, etc. And very next moment, or let's say after couple of hours, there is opposite statement given by the same president of USA. And what about Israel? They wanted a change in the regime. That has not taken place. Although most of the leaders who were present in the earlier regime, they have been killed, they have been assassinated. But the regime still strongly is present, is overseeing the operations which are happening in Iran. So if you want to establish a ceasefire, you want the parties to, one, basically define what they want, and second, stop fighting. Has it happened? Iran has continued to conduct operations. USA has, again, yesterday a statement has been given. USA will continue to bomb certain places in Iran. Israel has continued, right, in many instances without even consulting other members, including USA for that matter. So there is a problem with establishing a ceasefire. That is, the parties that are involved in the war, especially those which started the war, they have changed the goalpost. They have kept on changing the objectives that they want to achieve. That is the first very important problem. Second very important problem, there is basically no faith. There is no faith or confidence of Iran on the parties which are present who are trying to establish the ceasefire. Iran doesn't believe in many of these particular parties who are present on the negotiating table. For example, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. They have been dragged into the war. Various reports also have stated that they have requested USA to continuously bomb and ensure that there is a solution to the problem in Iran, etc. So when the negotiations are happening and these particular countries are present on the table, the problem is Iran does not have faith in these particular parties. It doesn't believe that these parties have the interest of Iran in their discussion. Right? That is the second very important issue. Third very important issue is, what are the other stakeholders in this war? You have China, which purchased a majority of the crude oil that was sent from Iran or that was sold by Iran. You have Russia. But the problem is, none of these particular parties, or let's say the stakeholders, want to directly intervene in this particular war. Of course, yes, Pakistan, which wants to mediate, has involved China, has conducted talks with the representative of China, but nobody wants to directly be involved in the war. Because the problem is, If these particular countries, let's say Russia or China, will get involved in the war, then basically it might lead to the Third World War. And moreover, take the example of Russia. Russia is already fighting a war on one of its front, that is Ukraine, which has been happening for multiple years now. So the problem is the other major powers, such as, right, let's say Russia and China, they do not want to be directly be involved in the war. Right? So the only country which is mediating, which is taking the initiative, trying to mediate amongst all these particular parties is Pakistan. But so far, the most important parties of the war, that is Iran, Israel and USA, they have not been talking to each other directly according to these particular reports. Although the representative of Iran, the president of Iran has spoken to the representative of Pakistan, these parties have not been brought on the same table. And the problem is this: what is the guarantee that even if Pakistan will mediate, the other parties will agree for a ceasefire? What is the guarantee they will not attack again, right? Let's say Iran. What is the guarantee? Because before the onset of the war, before the war broke out, before USA and Israel attacked Iran, negotiations were happening. The peace talks were actually happening. So what is the guarantee that even if Iran comes to the negotiation table, the other side will uphold, right, the deal, will basically follow the terms of the deal? That's the reason one of the points of contention, one of the demands from the side of the Iran is that they want certain guarantees that the other side will not attack again. Along with, they want payment for the damages because of the bombings that have been conducted by both Israel as well as USA. So these are certain very important points which have been discussed in the context of this, right, editorial article. Now, in addition to this, there is one more article in today's Indian Express. The article discusses one more initiative that has been taken up by United Kingdom. United Kingdom, along with many other countries, are dependent on the transportation that is conducted through Strait of Hormuz. They expected that USA will take certain action, will ensure that the Strait of Hormuz will remain open. USA also initially stated that the Strait of Hormuz will be kept open. But when Iran said it has been blocking the Strait of Hormuz, no countries which are adversaries of Iran will not be or will be allowed to pass. Their vessels will be allowed to pass through this particular Strait of Hormuz. USA initially asked NATO members to support. The other countries basically said we are not party to the war. We were not consulted when the war took place. So they stayed away. Now USA president simply says, if European countries want to keep the Strait of Hormuz open, that is their burden. That is their headache. USA will not be taking care of keeping the Strait of Hormuz open. Now, what is the update? Update is very simple. Along with UK, there are 60 countries which have made a coalition now. Right? As of now, just informal talks have taken place. 60 plus countries have come together, including India by the way. And they have started talking to each other within this coalition. Now the talks are being held. The basic idea is that they want to use all the routes, all the tools that are available with these countries at diplomatic levels to ensure that the Strait of Hormuz is kept open. This coalition, which has been led by UK, it is focused on only keeping the Strait of Hormuz open along with many other objectives. Done. So India participated in this coalition. This is just one more update in the context of what is happening in West Asia. Next, can we move on to the next article here? Please do let me know. Please do let me know. Everybody is okay with the discussion? Great. Next one, Artemis II. Artemis II, what is at stake for USA? Very important article, by the way. Important in the sense the points are important for UPSC prelims as well as mains examination. Now, what are the important points? Earlier, in the year 1968, Apollo 8 took the astronauts from USA and they conducted, right, basically a round of moon. They conducted a mission. They did not land on the moon. Then in the year 1962, Apollo 11 basically conducted, or Apollo 11 mission was conducted to basically land man on moon. This was the first time. Please remember the year. UPSC can ask you the question on this. So 1969, Apollo 11 mission was conducted to land people or land astronauts on the moon. Thereafter, multiple missions have been conducted. Apollo 12, Apollo 14, Apollo 15, Apollo 16, and Apollo 17. So the last time when man landed on the moon was in the 1972 in Apollo 17 mission. Apollo 17 mission. Now, USA is conducting one more manned mission. It is a manned mission. Manned means basically individuals, people will be sent into, right, let's say this particular the vehicle where, please understand, this particular Artemis II, the mission that I'm talking about here, under this mission, the people who are there in this particular, right, let's say vehicle, they will not be landing on the moon. It will not be a mission where they will be landing on the moon. Essentially, it is a test mission. It is essentially a test mission. So back in the year 2022, right, back in the year 2022, Artemis 1 was conducted. It was unmanned mission. Now Artemis 2 is being conducted. It is a manned mission. What is the importance of this? Importance is very simple. After 1972, this will be the first time when, right, manned mission will be conducted, right, around moon. Around moon, right, that is the mission will be conducted around the moon. That is the first very important point. Second very important point, I'll come back to this. The crew will consist of 4 people. Reed Weissman, Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Koch, and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Please make a note of this. These will be the first humans to travel beyond low Earth orbit, LEO. Right? These will be the first humans to travel beyond lower Earth orbit since 1972. First important point. Second important point, Victor Glover will become the first person of color to undertake this kind of a mission. Koch will become the first woman to undertake this kind of a mission, and Mr. Hansen will become, right, the first non-US citizen to embark on a lunar trajectory. These two are important points. Please make a note of this. Do not worry, after the class is over, you can download this particular PPT. Third very important point, the Artemis II mission will be using the Space Launch System. This is the most powerful rocket that has been developed by NASA. It is the most powerful rocket that has been developed by NASA. And please remember, this mission is not a manned mission where people will be landing on the moon. Essentially, this mission will be conducted for 10 days where the mission objective is to go on a trajectory, on a circular path around the moon. They will basically go for far side of the moon, right? Take data, collect a lot of data and test the systems. Most importantly, test the systems. Because mind you, by 2028, NASA aims to conduct a manned mission where astronauts will be landing on the moon. They want the people to land on the moon by 2028. So this is basically a testing, right, phase now, or it is a testing mission where they will go around the moon, right, go towards the far side of the moon, collect a lot of data, test all the equipments and come back to Earth. These are the important points. Now, question arises, why is NASA conducting it right now? What is the reason? Why are we conducting this particular moon mission? Reason is very simple. One, they want to basically test, right? So that they want to test this particular equipment so that they can send the humans to land on the moon later. And they are competing in this particular regard with China. This particular competition is with China because China has also stated that by 2030, they will also be conducting manned mission. And they want to set up a lab on moon itself. So the fight, or let's say the competition, is between these two countries. Which country will land on the moon first, set up observatories or the infrastructure on the moon? Because the point here is very simple. On the southern pole of moon, right, it is under the shadow from the sunlight. It is experiencing a shadow from the sunlight. The other part of the moon experiences very high volatile temperatures. The temperatures during the day are as high as 127 degrees Celsius and during the night are as low as minus 173 degrees Celsius. So there is a lot of volatility in terms of temperature, but certain parts, that is the craters on the moon, they do not get the exposure to the sunlight. They are continuously under the shadow. So there is an argument that there will be ice, there will be water in that particular crater or these particular regions. The competition essentially now is to go to these particular craters and establish your presence in these particular regions. And the argument is anybody who will take the lead in that will influence what is going to happen to all the other flights that will be conducted later, the missions that will be conducted later by other countries. This is another very important point. Third very important point to make a note here is this particular mission, there has been a lot of delay. The cost of developing all of this, the cost of conducting a mission, whenever one mission is conducted, it will cost you somewhere around $2 billion. But so far, in this particular Artemis mission, NASA has spent around $93 billion. So the cost-wise also, it is very, very costly. There have been various concerns or various questions raised by the Congress in USA as to why they should continue to fund these kind of missions if there is going to be a delay, if there is going to be a higher cost incurred under these kind of missions. These are certain very important points associated with Artemis II. Now, in addition to this, please make a note of one accord here. Artemis Accord. Please remember this. There is one accord. Accord means agreement. There is one accord, that is Artemis Accord. Artemis Accord is basically led by NASA. Along with NASA, there are 7 other countries which came out in support or which were basically the founding members to come out in support of Artemis Accord. Artemis Accord proposed in the year 2020. The proposal is set of principles. It refers to set of principles which shall be followed by all the countries which are part of Artemis Accord. It will basically support peaceful exploration of space. This is to promote the peaceful exploration for civilian purposes. The space exploration shall be promoted. And please remember, this Artemis Accord is a non-binding agreement. It is a non-binding agreement. That is, other countries or USA are not bound by any of the principles that are mentioned under the Artemis Accord. Is India a signatory to this? Yes, India signed or became a part of Artemis Accord in the year 2023. It became part of the accord in the year 2023. So these are the important points associated with Artemis II. Now based on this, here is an MCQ. Please tell me what is the correct answer quickly. Consider the following statements regarding Artemis Accords. It is an UN-led initiative. This should not be difficult, by the way. I've already given you all the answers. It is binding set of principles on all the members. India has joined the Accords in the year 2023. Is it a UN-led initiative? No. It is a NASA, that is USA-led initiative. It is binding set of principles on all the members. It is non-binding set of principles. India has joined the Accords in the year 2023. Yes, only one of the statements out of 3, only one of the statements is correct. Let's go forward now. Governor bound by Cabinet's advice on remission. The ruling has been issued by Madras High Court. First and foremost, what are the important points? There are various pardoning powers. There are various pardoning powers which are given to the President of India, POI, President of India, as well as the Governor of a state. Governor of a state. In the case of President of India, article under the Constitution is different, 72. In the case of Governor, it is article 161. Now, the case that has been heard by the Madras High Court, where the ruling has been issued, is very simple. What if the Council of Ministers at the state level, the Council of Ministers will give an advice to the governor regarding remission. Regarding remission in case of certain convicts. Does the governor of that particular state have the right to oppose this particular, right, let's say, advice given by the Council of Ministers, or is the governor of the state bound by the advice? There were differences in the orders that have been issued by the divisions or the divisional benches. So finally, right, this has come to the Madras High Court. What is the opinion or what is the order or the judgment issued by the Madras High Court? In cases of remission, whatever is the advice given by the Council of Ministers, the governor is bound by it. Simple. The governor is simply bound by it. There is no discretionary power in such cases. Again, I am repeating this. There is no discretionary power in such cases where the Council of Ministers will give an advice to the governor in case of remission. Right? So, absolutely no discretionary power. And the case that has been quoted here, the Supreme Court judgment that has been quoted by the Madras High Court is simple one. Please make a note of this. The Supreme Court precedents in case of Maruram versus Union of India versus State of Tamil Nadu. Right? Basically, this is the judgment which has been quoted by the Madras High Court, and it has stated that this judgment of Supreme Court of India is the precedent, and the governor will not have any kind of a discretionary power. They will have to simply follow the order, or let's say the advice, not the order, the advice given by the Council of Ministers. Simple one. Please don't overcomplicate it. Right? These are the important points. Now, let's quickly solve the question MCQ associated with that. Consider the following statements. The pardoning powers of the President and the Governor are defined under Article 72 and 161 of Indian Constitution respectively. Are these the two articles associated with the pardoning powers? Yes, that is absolutely true. TVK Votary says option C is correct one. Okay. And others, Aman Singh also saying option C. In case of remission, the harsher punishment is replaced with the lighter one. My dear, please read the second statement carefully. In case of remission, the harsher punishment is replaced with the lighter one. No. The definition that I've written here is talking about commutation. It is about commutation, where harsher punishment is replaced with a lighter punishment. Right? Whereas, in case of remission, the tenure is changed. Let's say you have been jailed for 7 years or 6 years. Now, this particular tenure will be reduced. That is basically remission. What is given here is commutation. So, second statement is incorrect. First statement is correct. Right option for the question will be option A. So, please read the statements carefully. These are very easy questions. This is a very easy question, by the way. Please don't make a mistake in these kind of easy questions. Judicial officials detained. Gherao of judicial officers in Bengal, a challenge to Supreme Court of India. Statement issued by the Chief Justice of India. What has happened? Simple sequence, understand here. The SIR, right? SIR exercise was conducted in multiple states, including West Bengal. From the voters roll or the list of the voters, more than 60 lakh voters have been removed. And there have been certain, right, let's say differences, right, difference in the faith or difference in the competence that has cropped up between the state government of West Bengal as well as the Election Commission of India. There is a gap. Now, in order to address this particular issue, Supreme Court of India simply stated that we are going to send judicial officials in order to bridge the gap, right? Supreme Court simply said, I know there is a gap between the state government in West Bengal as well as the performance of Election Commission of India. Now, whenever this kind of, right, let's say the gap is existing, let me basically fill in this particular gap by sending the judicial officials. And what is the role of these judicial officials? Now, the revision of the role, or let's say the appeals are being heard from the people whose names have been struck out of the voters list. Now, judicial officials will basically hear the pleas of the voters. They will basically intervene and basically keep on collecting information from the voters whose names have been removed from the voters list. Now, some of these particular judicial officials visited a place in West Bengal. Don't worry about the name, don't worry about the village, etc. Focus on the important points. They visited, and the situation in this particular region became tense because in these particular regions, in some of the places, from the region, more than 40% of the voters have been removed from the voters list. Now, when this particular situation became tense, the people basically, right, surrounded the judicial officials. Surrounded. Right? Gherao, somebody is asking, what is the meaning of gherao? Gherao is a Hindi word. Right? Surrounding. Right? They basically surrounded the judicial officials. They did not allow these judicial officials to move from there. And this particular, right, let's say detaining, right, English term detaining. The detaining went on for multiple hours. Water was not given to judicial officials. Food was not given to these judicial officials. Despite multiple calls being made to the state officials, nobody has supported them, and this has been taken up by the Chief Justice of India. That is, the Supreme Court of India has looked at this particular situation and has criticized the officials of West Bengal government. It has criticized the political parties. It has taken to task the officials of this particular region. And they've asked the officials in this particular region, the high-ranking officials such as the magistrates, why no action should be taken against them. They should show the cause now. In addition to this, the Chief Justice of India led bench also has asked the investigation to be conducted by either CBI or National Investigation Agency, and the report should be submitted directly to the Supreme Court of India. Because the Supreme Court of India took the initiative in order to address the issue of, right, let's say the SIR exercise, the problem associated with the SIR, Supreme Court of India sent judicial officials. Now, if you basically detain these judicial officials, nobody in the future will be ready to undertake these kind of, let's say, exercise. It is a threat against judicial officials. Please understand, you may like or you may dislike what is being done by, let's say, certain officials. But if you think that, or if you know that this is illegal, there is a particular way to get the redressal. Just gherowing the officials who have come because the Supreme Court of India has directed them to go and conduct this particular exercise, that is not the right way. So Supreme Court of India has directed that investigation has to be conducted. Already the case has been handed over to the National Investigation Agency. Right? So these are certain important points associated with one more piece of news associated with SIR in West Bengal. Next article, PMI, lowest in 4 years. Right? Gherao, again I am repeating this. Gherao means surround. Surround somebody. That is Hindi word. Gherao is Hindi word. Right? When, let's say, 4 people are there and 2,000 people will surround them, it is basically, right, you are detaining them. You are not allowing them to move, etc. Okay, let's go forward. Hit by West Asia crisis, manufacturing activity slows to 45-month low in March. What are the important points? Please make a note of this. There is one way to measure what kind of economic activity is happening. And when I say what kind of, whether the manufacturing is increasing, production of services is increasing, decreasing compared to a last month. There is one indicator, purchasing managers index. Please understand this. Reason why I'm taking up this article is, I'm pretty sure all of you have come across index of industrial production. You have come across index of 8 core industries. The difference between these two and the PMI is the fact that these two are published by the government, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Whereas the Purchasing Managers Index is not published by the government. In India, one of the main authorities, or let's say one entity that will publish PMI is HSBC. HSBC, India Purchasing Managers Index. Earlier, the name was different, IHS Market. Now it is HSBC PMI. Now, what is the importance of this? Under the Purchasing Managers Index, it is a survey-based data collection methodology. That is, the data collectors will go to different companies, The managers who are involved in the purchasing, right, recording orders, producing and supplying, etc., they will go to different suppliers in the market, collect data from them. For example, what kind of data is collected? In this month, how much orders have you received? In this month, how much raw material you have purchased? In this month, have you employed more people? Have you removed the people from the work? This kind of a survey, that is opinion based survey, is conducted, and weightages are given to these indicators, and the outcome is calculated. There is a methodology to calculate, and you will get the number. Please understand, when the purchasing manager's index number is more than 50, I repeat, when it is more than 50, then compared to last month, in this month, there will be higher output. If it is less than 50 compared to last month, in this month, there will be a contraction. Above 50, expansion; below 50, contraction. If it is PMI is equal to 50, then there is absolutely no change in the activity. That is the importance of calculating purchasing managers index. And what is the latest update? Hit by what is happening in the West Asia, which has created volatility in the market, the purchasing managers index has fallen to 4-year low. It has fallen to a 4-year low of 53.9, the lowest after June 2022. And what does it actually mean? It simply means there is a problem with economic activity that is happening in India. It reflects that production is going down compared to, have a look at the data here, compared to previous month where the PMI was almost 57. Now the PMI for the month of March is 53.9, which means the production has been hit. Economic activity has been hit. And the point, right, is very simple. The frictions that are happening. What is happening in West Asia? It is taking a toll on the economic activities in India. So these are simple but important points in the context of purchasing managers index. Please make a note and let's quickly solve this MCQ. Consider the following statements regarding the purchasing managers index. It is published by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. It is a leading indicator. It has a base year of 2011 and 12. How many of the statements are true? Do let me know quickly. Quickly, please tell me how many of these statements are correct. It is published by MOSPI. It is incorrect. It is not published by MOSPI. It is not published by the government agencies in the first place. It has a base year of 2011 and 12. No, this is also incorrect. The basic number is calculated and you compare that number with the previous month, you get to know what is going to be the outcome. It is a leading indicator. Important point. Listen to me very carefully. There is a concept in the context of indices: leading indicator, lagging indicator. Leading and lagging. What is the basic idea? Leading indicator are telling you what is going to happen. For example, if you are a manager, under the PMI, I'll ask you how many orders you have taken in this month. If you simply say you have taken lesser orders, does it not mean in the coming days you will supply less to the market? Simple. Does it not mean if you have taken lesser orders right now, does it not mean in the coming days you will supply lesser amount of goods or services to the market? So it is a leading indicator. It is giving you information regarding what is going to happen in the coming days. Whereas a lagging indicator, best example for lagging indicator is, let's say, GDP. When you get the GDP data, you'll get GDP data, let's say for the financial year 26, they will say India's GDP is $4.3 trillion. Don't you think you're measuring something that has already happened? Correct? You are finding out information regarding something that has already happened. It is already completed. So it is a lagging indicator. GDP, inflation, all these are lagging indicators. PMI is a leading indicator, right? So is PMI a leading indicator? Yes. Right option for the question here will be option A. Let's move on to the next article. India's defense exports. India's defense exports rose by 62.66% in the financial year 26. Important article. I've taken this from Indian Express. What are the important points here? Whenever you talk about India in the context of the defense, most of the times you'll come across the point that India imports lot of the products in the context of defense, be it weapons, be it aeroplanes, fighter planes, right, the components, etc. Various times or most of the times that you have come across the discussion, you will come across the statement India imports it. But yesterday there was a report that was published which stated that India's defense exports have ballooned. India's defense exports have ballooned, have reached all-time high of 38,424 crore rupees, almost $4 billion. India's defense exports have reached almost $4 billion. And when you compare this with the previous financial year, that number was somewhere around 24,000 crore rupees. So in a span of one financial year, between financial year 25 to financial year 26, India's exports in defense have increased by more than 66%. That's a good news. Now, in the past, what kind of products are exported from India? Please understand, the government data simply states that India exports to more than 80 countries. India exports to more than 80 countries. Individually, how much it has been exporting, that value has not been provided, but these are the data points. India exports to more than 80 countries. Out of the total exports of defense products, if you dissect the number, 55% of this comes from the entities owned by the government and somewhere around 45% comes from the private sector entities. More than 55% government owned entities and around 45% private sector owned entities. This is second very important point. Third very important point, what kind of products do we export? Within the defense, we export components, that is the spare parts which are purchased by lot of these particular companies. We export, right, various finished products such as rockets. For example, back in the year 2022, Philippines purchased BrahMos missiles from India. And very recently, couple of months ago itself, even Indonesia has purchased BrahMos missiles from India. That agreement has been finalized. In addition to BrahMos missiles, we have also exported Pinaka, rockets, Akash missiles, etc. The countries such as Armenia, they have purchased these kind of defense products from India. This is the second important point. Third and very important point is, which are the major countries? I'll repeat the statement. Which are the major countries who have purchased from India? You will be surprised to know one of the major countries is USA. USA is one of the major purchaser of defense products from India. In addition to USA, we have France, we also have Armenia. So these are the major buyers of defense products which are exported from India. And one more very important point the report states is the fact that very recently, right, because of Operation Sindoor, the credibility of the products, defense products which are manufactured in India has improved. Because during Operation Sindoor, a lot of these particular defense products which are manufactured in India, where R&D has been conducted in India, right, developed in India, these equipments, defense products, rockets, etc. have been utilized. And these have proved their effectiveness. As a result of this, the demand for these particular products, defense products in the global market has increased. So these are certain important points associated with defense exports. Next article, Education Ministry notifies NCERT as a deemed university. Whenever you talk about universities, please understand the universities established in India either are public essentially means set up by the central government or the state government, or these are private universities, or these are deemed to be universities. Deemed to be universities. The NCERT now through the Ministry of Education notification, has been given the status of deemed to be university. And what rule has been mentioned? A notification issued by the Ministry of Education has basically notified NCERT along with 6 constituent units as an institution deemed to be university under a distinct category under Section 3 of UGC, University Grants Commission Act of 1956. Please remember the section as well as the UGC Act. Because whenever you want to notify certain universities, regulation of it, all of it will come under UGC. Right now, NCERT, the most important role of NCERT is associated with preparation of the textbooks. That is, prescribing a syllabus, making textbooks and supplying these particular textbooks for educational institutions. Once this notification has been issued, which has come into force now, NCERT now will be allowed to make its own courses, provide graduation courses, etc. That is the importance of this announcement of Ministry of Education. But please understand, this decision has not been taken overnight. It's been multiple years since the government announcing that they want to take the next step in the context of functioning of NCERT, so that rather than being involved only in the syllabus making or only in the printing and publication of the books, NCERT should be involved and playing much more dominant role or much higher role in terms of awarding degrees, etc. So after multiple years, this decision has been undertaken by the government of India. Right? But one more very important point to note here is, this NCERT now will come under overall regulation of University Grants Commission now. UGC has given certain conditions that NCERT has to follow if it wants to continue to function as deemed to be university. But in addition to this, when this particular proposal was put forward a couple of years ago, there was an opposition to this. Some of the experts believe that once NCERT is given deemed to be university status, it will come under the regulation of UGC and it will end up losing its autonomy. It will end up losing its autonomy because when you look at the evolution of NCERT, it has been set up as an autonomous organization. It has been set up as an autonomous organization back in the year 1961. And this has been set up or registered under Societies Registration Act. Societies Registration Act. So the argument is, once you are defined or notified as a deemed to be university, you will come under the regulation of UGC, you will lose the autonomy. Right? So these are certain important points associated with this article. Right? 2 more articles, just information now. India-USA trade deal. It's been 1 year since the government of USA announced a tariff on the trading partners. Trading partners including India. Right? That is, it was announced on 2nd April 2025, which they called it as Liberation Day. And since then, there have been so many changes in terms of the tariffs itself. Let's talk in the context of India. Initially, the tariff announcement was 26%. Later, it was changed to 25%. Later, it was increased to 50%. These tariffs which were announced under IEEPA were considered to be illegal by the Supreme Court. And after the verdict came from the Supreme Court, the government of USA used one more provision and announced a tariff of 10%. Meanwhile, there were negotiations which were conducted between Indian side as well as USA, under which they stated that they will reduce the tariffs which are applicable to India's exports to 18%. The 25% penalties, right, penalty tariffs or penal tariffs were withdrawn or basically announced to be withdrawn, and the government of USA said 18% tariff will be applicable on India's exports. So if you see, there have been so many changes, right? So many changes which has created uncertainty or volatility in terms of the trade deal that should be finalized and should be signed It has been finalized, not yet signed, by the way. Right? So there is a problem associated with this finalization of the trade deal. As an update, what has the minister stated here? The minister simply states India wants to continue to get a preferential treatment from USA. They would want the USA to negotiate in a good faith, reduce the tariff so that the trade between India and USA will balloon after the agreement is signed. So this is right basically an update. Final one more point of update here. INS Sunayna. INS Sunayna. Right, there is basically a principle that has been put forward by Indian Navy, and that is right Mahasagar initiative. Under this, right, or as an extension of this, there is also IOS Sagar. IOS Sagar. IOS stands for Indian Ocean Ship. And Sagar stands for security and growth for all in region. Right, what is the basic idea of this? The government, right, that is through the defense forces, that is Indian Navy here, basically wants to promote regional cooperation. They want to promote regional cooperation, provide humanitarian assistance whenever it is required, and also ensure there is maritime security. So, in order to achieve all these particular objectives, the government of India, that is Indian Navy, has launched IOS Sagar. Right? The new ship that has been brought under the IOS Sagar is INS Sunayna. Right? This will be conducting rounds in Indian Ocean, and it will visit multiple ports on this ship along with the representatives from India, the personnel from another 16 countries. That is basically the members or the neighbors of India who want to be part of this cooperation initiative. The members from 16 countries are present on the ship. So this is one more update. Please remember the name of the ship, INS Sunayna. It is a patrolling vessel. Done. So these are the 11 articles as well as the concepts associated with these articles and the questions I wanted to discuss with you people in today's session. If you have liked the discussion, please do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. But before I close, if there are any issues, questions or the doubts regarding what I have discussed, do let me know in the comment section. I'll address them. Done then. Right? So that's it from my side in today's session. Take care. See you tomorrow sharp at 10 a.m. Have a great day.